All right, for years, ever since I was a little kid, I've been telling my family I've been abducted by aliens. They all told me I was crazy. They've always told me I was crazy. They never believed me ever. And then when I was in a relationship with my best friend, same thing kind of happened. He was murdered by his father, and some weird things happened around that. And then my son was murdered. Well, yeah, basically murdered by his father. And he ended up surviving using rear lobes that you're like nobody knew that you could use. Like he's using the rear lobes. He lost all of his frontal lobes, which is cognitive skills, speech, eyesight, all of that was taken from him. Movement skills, all of it. He was like basically a vegetable. And then one day, my best friend, who was murdered by his father, one day I was hanging out with my son at his foster family's house, who is his family now. We're just sitting there playing, and I smell my best friend Colin's cologne. And like Cameron, who was blind at the time, all of a sudden starts tracking something like, go from this right here, and this is all the look that you get, and then all of a sudden you go, whatever happened to me, I wouldn't wish it on a cockroach. Sincerely, Linda Napolitano. Now, mind you, right there is the only part of the body my son can move at the time. And he wasn't even able to move that. But one day, I smell Colin's cologne, and all of a sudden, my son can move his eyes. A couple months later, I get a, swear to God, I get abducted by aliens, okay? Come back from the dream that I was in. I can explain that more. I was alone, and I was in my bed, and I was looking up at this roof that I had in the really small apartment that I had, and I was absolutely alone. My boyfriend just left me. My brother actually just sent me like a TV or something like that, and like I'm just sitting there alone in my apartment or my house, and all of a sudden the lights just bust out. And then when I come back to life, and that's how I felt like when I came back to life, I was in a different spot in my house. Like I fell asleep in my bedroom, and then I ended up in my living room. And I don't know, like sleepwalking, whatever, because I've been known to do that too since I was a little kid. I've been a sleepwalker. You know what I mean? So all these things have happened to me throughout my life, and then I end up with Matt, my husband, and I swear to you not, he will admit to this. Actually, he absolutely will admit to this. We were sleeping just like normal. All of a sudden, we both wake up in the same time, you know. He's covered in water, just like covered in water, and everything underneath him is completely dry. Like if it was sweat and he was sleeping for that long, it would have sunken in to our bed, but it didn't. And I was completely dry too, but he was like covered in water. And when we talked about our dreams that night, it was very crazy. I was behind a glass wall, and in front of me was like kind of like a Jurassic Park kind of scenery. And there was like a grandma and a little girl there, and Matt was like in between a monster or whatever it was, and in between this little girl and the grandma, and the alien and me are on this side of the glass. And he is talking to me, but he's speaking like telepathically, basically. And he's asking me like, what would Matt do? Would he save himself? Would he save these little girls? Would he save the grandmother? And he was asking me these questions, and I'm like, oh, he's definitely a savior. He's a Viking. He's gonna chop this thing to death, you know? And that's when we both woke up. And I don't know if the thing killed him or not, but it definitely scared him to death. That's for sure. Now that AI Atlas has come around, well, actually, it happened a little bit before that. About 5 years ago, I was in a car accident, well, a hit and run on my bike with a car. And I broke like my collarbone and stuff like that. And the hit and run, it was, I reported it. It was never caught, blah, blah, blah. But this was too long for me to even report it. I can't even get money back from it. My God. And it was all caught on camera. Well, no, it was caught in front of a high school that had no cameras, which is pretty much insane that I'm not getting anything from Fort Collins, Colorado out of that accident. But again, high school, stoplight, no cameras. I had the white guy to go, and some dude comes crossing the street and slams right into me. My house was right across the street, and so I just limped back home. The guy peeled off, and there were witnesses, and so we exchanged numbers. But I just went home, and the cops were like, well, you left the scene of the crime. We can't do anything about it. There were no cameras. There were witnesses, but they said you left. Yeah, they didn't do shit. Yeah, thanks, Fort Collins Police Department. And yes, it's still on the record if you want to look it up and help me out. That'd be great. Anywho, so after that happened, I started seizuring, badly. It wasn't head seizures, it was body seizures. It was actually 6 months after the car accident. And I went to sleep one night, and I kept hearing somebody whispering in my ear. And I kept waking Derek up, being like, are you fucking with me? And he's like, go to sleep. I'm not doing anything. And I kept waking up over and over again. I kept driving him crazy. He's like, just fucking go to sleep. I'm not doing anything. I'm in my room. And I was in my room. And again, it kept whispering in my ear. And I got up. And the second I got up, I went into a seizure. And I just started screaming for Derek. And I was like, help me. We went to the hospital. They told me that because I was on buprenorphine, they couldn't do anything about it, blah, blah, blah. They checked my ear. They didn't do any kind of scans, no blood work, nothing. They gave me some muscle relaxers and then sent me home. So for 2 weeks after that, I was dealing with these seizures. And again, every time I dealt with these seizures, it had to do with this ear. Still to this day, I have these seizures. And it has to do with this ear. So here's the weird complex about the thing. I can breathe underwater through this ear. Yes, this is really weird. I've been working on this, okay? Because I'm not a swimmer. I can't really swim. And I'm not a big breather. My lungs do all the work because I'm a singer and I'm a dancer. But my lungs are really having problems now. But my ear is starting to breathe in more oxygen than my lungs. Now, I know this sounds really stinking weird, but when I'm underwater, I can literally plug my nose, do this, and breathe through this ear. I have to sit on the side, plug everything, and literally have a full breath in this ear. Not this one yet. Now, I have my tonsils still. So, in the future, do you think that I might possibly become a mermaid? One of the sea people? Because that's literally what I feel like is happening to me. I'm able to breathe through my ear and I have my tonsils. So am I growing gills? Let me know.